Did you know that in some parts of the United States, immigrants are facing stricter laws and are outright restricted from settling? It may sound unbelievable, but this video will dive deep into the top 10 states where immigrants are not allowed in the United States. As more states take a firm stance against immigration, new policies are emerging that could completely reshape how migrants live and work in America. In this video, we'll take a closer look at states that have created tough anti-immigration laws, cracking down on undocumented immigrants and tightening borders. From employment restrictions to laws that target sanctuary cities, these states have become strongholds of anti-immigration enforcement. Whether it's legal immigration or the broader immigrant communities, these places are setting new standards, making it clear that they are not immigrant-friendly. Get ready to be shocked as we reveal which states are leading this charge. Is your state on the list? Stick around until the end to find out, and remember, this could affect how the immigration crisis plays out across the nation. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share if you want to stay in the loop on immigration news. Let's get into it. Number 10. Idaho. When you think of Idaho, your mind probably drifts to endless fields of potatoes, but this state is also gaining a reputation for its strict immigration laws. In 2024, Idaho passed legislation that allows local law enforcement to detain undocumented immigrants, making it one of the toughest states in the immigration enforcement arena. Even the city of Eagle, Idaho, took a stand by declaring itself a non-sanctuary city, a clear signal that sanctuary policies have no place here. With immigrants making up just 5.7% of the state's population, around 112,000 out of 1.9 million residents, Idaho might not have a large immigrant community compared to other states, but it's solidifying its stance on immigration with these bold moves. The state's immigrant population, many of whom work in agriculture and food processing, contribute significantly to the state's economy. After all, those famous Idaho potatoes don't harvest themselves. Supporters argue that these measures are about ensuring public safety and upholding the law, while critics point out that it may hinder economic growth and create a climate of fear among immigrant communities. But one thing's for sure. Just like Idaho protects its prized crops, it's also doubling down on protecting its borders. Number 9. Arkansas. Arkansas may be known as the natural state, but when it comes to immigration policies, it's anything but welcoming. In 2019, Arkansas made a bold move by cutting off funding to sanctuary cities, signaling that it wasn't going to offer safe havens for undocumented immigrants. This decision put Arkansas firmly on the map as one of the top 10 states where immigrants are not allowed in the United States. Governor Asa Hutchinson has been at the forefront of this movement, making it clear that Arkansas isn't interested in offering sanctuary. With 5.3% of the population being immigrants, about 162,000 people out of the state's 3 million. Arkansas is pushing forward with its anti-immigrant stance, focusing on policies that limit protections for undocumented individuals. Many of these immigrants contribute heavily to industries like agriculture and food processing, but the state is determined to restrict migration flows, even at the potential cost of labor shortages. Supporters of the state's actions argue that cracking down on sanctuary cities is about maintaining law and order, while critics believe it harms immigrant communities and stifles economic growth. After all, Arkansas thrives on its natural beauty, but it also needs a workforce to keep its fields and factories running. You could say they're putting the natural back in the natural state, but maybe a little too literally when it comes to migration. As Arkansas continues to embrace its tough stance on immigration, it's clear that the state's message is anything but mixed. Number 8. Arizona. Arizona has long been at the center of the immigration debate with its controversial SB 1070 law, passed in 2010, often referred to as the Show Me Your Papers law. This legislation empowered local law enforcement to check the immigration status of anyone they suspected of being undocumented during routine stops. It didn't take long for the law to spark national outrage, with critics labeling it as racial profiling in disguise. While the U.S. Supreme Court eventually struck down parts of the law, the message was clear. Arizona was taking a hardline approach on immigration enforcement, with about 13.2% of Arizona's population being foreign-born. over 900,000 out of the state's 7.4 million residents. The state has a significant immigrant community. Many of these immigrants contribute heavily to Arizona's booming industries like agriculture, construction, and tourism. But despite their vital role in the state's economy, Arizona's laws have consistently made it difficult for undocumented immigrants to live and work here. Supporters of Arizona's immigration policies argue that they're necessary for maintaining border security and protecting jobs for U.S. citizens. But critics warn that these laws create an atmosphere of fear and division, particularly among Arizona's Latino population, which makes up nearly a third of the state's residents. With Arizona's scorching desert heat and its equally heated immigration policies, it's no surprise the state claims a spot on our countdown of the top 10 states, where immigrants are not allowed in the United States. Whether you're drawn to the Grand Canyon or Phoenix's bustling tech scene, one thing is certain: Arizona isn't pulling any punches when it comes to immigration enforcement. Number 7. South Carolina. South Carolina may be steeped in rich history, but it's also a state that's known for its firm stance on immigration. Back in 2011, South Carolina passed SB 20, one of the strictest anti-immigrant laws in the nation. This law required police officers to check the immigration status of individuals they stopped, drawing comparisons to Arizona's infamous SB 1070. The legislation sparked national controversy, leading to legal battles that blocked some of the more extreme provisions. However, even with parts of it halted, South Carolina remains a state that's decidedly anti-sanctuary. With 5.9% of its population being foreign-born, that's about 316,000 people out of 5.2 million, South Carolina isn't one of the most diverse states, but it still keeps a tight grip on its immigration policies. Immigrants in the state are critical to industries like manufacturing, construction, and hospitality, but South Carolina's strict laws make it clear that it's not rolling out the welcome mat for everyone. Supporters of these laws argue that they help maintain public safety and uphold the rule of law, while critics claim they foster fear and discrimination against immigrant communities. It's a classic Southern showdown. Do you uphold tradition or adapt to a more inclusive future? With South Carolina's deep-rooted position in the immigration debate, it's clear this state isn't softening its stance anytime soon. Whether you're drawn to the charm of Charleston or Myrtle Beach, just know that the state's immigration laws are about as tight as their sweet tea is sweet. Number 6. Tennessee. Tennessee may be known for its country music and mouth-watering BBQ, but it's also making noise in the world of immigration enforcement. In July 2024, the state passed SB 2576, a law that requires local police to check the immigration status of individuals during routine stops or arrests. The law's intent is clear. Tennessee is taking immigration enforcement into its own hands, tightening control at the local level and ensuring that undocumented immigrants are flagged and reported. This has caused quite the stir, especially considering that 6.1% of Tennessee's population, about 432,000 people, is foreign-born. Immigrants in the state are crucial to industries like agriculture, construction, and hospitality. However, this new law has many wondering whether it's a step too far. While proponents argue that it helps reduce the estimated $364 per household tax cost associated with illegal immigration, critics warn that it could lead to racial profiling and create fear among immigrant communities. Tennessee's law fits into a broader national trend of states taking a harder stance on immigration, especially in response to the immigration crisis. And while the state continues to thrive in other areas, like its thriving music scene and famous hot chicken, its immigration policies are turning up the heat in a different way. As Tennessee steps onto the stage of immigration enforcement, the debate rages on about whether these laws will help or hinder the state's growth. Stay tuned as we count down the remaining states in the top 10 states where immigrants are not allowed in the United States. The surprises just keep coming. Before we continue, if you're finding this list eye-opening and want to stay updated on the latest immigration news and policies shaping the U.S., make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We cover the hottest topics in immigration, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's dive back into our countdown of the top 10 states where immigrants are not allowed in the United States. Number 5. Alabama. Sweet home Alabama? Well, maybe not if you're an undocumented immigrant. Alabama took a firm stand by banning sanctuary cities outright, ensuring no local government can adopt policies that protect immigrants from federal enforcement. The state passed legislation in 2011, known as HB 56, which is considered one of the strictest anti-immigration laws in the country. This law allows police officers to inquire about immigration status during routine stops, among other strict measures. So it's clear, Alabama doesn't plan on offering any safe harbor for undocumented immigrants. Here's the kicker. Only 4% of Alabama's population is foreign-born, which is a small fraction compared to many other states. That's roughly 203,000 people out of 5 million, and the state seems intent on keeping that number from growing. Immigrants in Alabama often work in essential sectors like agriculture, construction, and manufacturing, but with these stringent policies, it's getting harder for them to settle here. Supporters of the state's anti-sanctuary stance argue it's about upholding the rule of law and protecting local jobs, while critics warn that these measures create an unwelcoming environment and harm Alabama's economy. After all, without immigrant labor, who's going to pick all those famous Alabama peaches? From legislative showdowns to growing tensions, Alabama continues to reshape the immigration debate. It may be sweet for some, but for immigrants, Alabama is sending a clear message. This state isn't exactly rolling out the welcome mat. Number 4. West Virginia. West Virginia, known for its breathtaking mountains and coal mines, has also made a bold move in the immigration debate. In 2022, the state passed a law allowing local authorities to fully enforce federal immigration policies, effectively banning sanctuary cities within its borders. While the measure has garnered support from those who argue it protects local jobs and enhances public safety, it's also raised concerns about the state's already dwindling population. Here's the twist. West Virginia isn't exactly swarming with immigrants. In fact, less than 2% of its population is foreign-born, making it one of the least diverse states in the country. Of the roughly 1.7 million people living in the state, only about 28,000 are immigrants. So what's driving the need for such strict anti-immigration laws? Supporters insist it's about preemptively guarding against future immigration challenges, while critics claim it's more of a political statement than a practical necessity. With its immigrant population largely contributing to industries like healthcare and construction, some wonder if these laws will backfire by discouraging much-needed workers from settling in the state. After all, West Virginia's workforce is already struggling with a significant decline due to its aging population. So, while the mountain state's scenic beauty remains untouched, its stance on immigration might leave some migrants thinking twice about calling it home. Whether or not this will help keep the peace or deter the state's economic growth remains to be seen. One thing's for sure, West Virginia's message is loud and clear. It's joining the anti-sanctuary club in full force. Number 3. Texas. Everything really is bigger in Texas, including its immigration policies. The Lone Star State made waves in 2017 with the passage of Senate Bill 4, a law that not only cracks down on sanctuary cities, but also compels local law enforcement to cooperate with federal immigration officers. This hardline stance effectively forces cities and counties to comply with immigration detainer requests or face penalties. For those cities hoping to be more immigrant-friendly, this law was a game-changer, or as Texans might say, it put the brakes on any sanctuary talk. Governor Greg Abbott took things a step further in 2022, launching a controversial program to bus asylum seekers to cities in other states, a move that grabbed national headlines. But with 17.2% of Texans being foreign-born, that's about 5.1 million people, this law hit hard. Texas is home to one of the largest immigrant populations in the country, and many are woven into the fabric of the state's economy, especially in sectors like agriculture, construction, and tech. While supporters of Senate Bill 4 claim it enhances public safety and enforces the rule of law, critics argue that it increases racial profiling and harms immigrant communities. Plus, with cities like Austin and Houston historically leaning more pro-immigrant, the law has deepened divisions within the state itself. Despite these challenges, Texas continues to thrive as a bustling hub for international migration. Whether you're drawn to its BBQ, tech boom, or wild rodeos, just remember, Texas plays by its own rules, especially when it comes to immigration enforcement. But hey, at least the tacos are still welcoming. Number 2, Iowa. Iowa isn't just about cornfields and caucuses, it's now making headlines for its firm stance on immigration. In recent years, Iowa passed a law banning sanctuary cities, drawing sharp reactions from both supporters and critics. For some, this anti-immigration move is about enhancing safety and maintaining order, but others argue that it tarnishes the state's friendly Midwestern reputation. With approximately 189,000 immigrants calling Iowa home, making up around 5.9% of the population, this law is no small deal. For many immigrants, it means a harder path to living and working in Iowa, causing some to reconsider their stay. Critics fear that by banning sanctuary policies, Iowa could alienate its immigrant communities, which contribute significantly to the state's economy, especially in agriculture and manufacturing. Although Iowa is far from being a major immigrant hub compared to states like California or Texas, this legislation still sends a strong message. Immigrants may feel less welcome in the land of rolling plains and endless skies. So while Iowa is still known for its corn and the occasional political pit stop, it's also gaining a new reputation as a state that doesn't exactly roll out the welcome mat for everyone. So will the fields of opportunities remain open for all? Stay tuned as we reveal the final state in our countdown of the top 10 states where immigrants are not allowed in the United States. Number 1, Florida. Florida, the land of sunshine, beaches, and tough immigration laws. In July 2024, Florida passed Senate Bill 1718, which cracked down on the employment of undocumented workers. The law imposed heavy penalties on businesses that knowingly hire undocumented immigrants, sending a strong message across the state. Although a judge temporarily blocked parts of the law, it's part of a larger anti-immigrant trend that's been taking shape in Florida in recent years. For a state known for its tourism and diversity, this was a move that left many people surprised. Turns out, it's not just the alligators that bite. With over 5 million immigrants calling Florida home, making up 21% of the state's population, this legislation hit hard. Immigrants have long been a vital part of Florida's workforce, contributing heavily to industries like agriculture, hospitality, and healthcare. It's hard to imagine Florida's famed orange groves and resorts running smoothly without immigrant labor, yet SB 1718 signaled a significant shift. Supporters of the law argue that it's about protecting jobs for legal residents and maintaining order, but critics warn that it could harm Florida's booming economy, which relies heavily on immigrant workers. Not to mention, some fear this law could discourage tourism in a state that thrives on welcoming people from all over the world. Whether it's tightening the screws on immigration or taking a stand in the national immigration debate, Florida keeps everyone on their toes. The Sunshine State might be warm, but if you're undocumented, it's getting harder to feel the heat in a good way. And there you have it, the top 10 states where immigrants are not allowed in the United States. These states are making bold moves in the immigration debate, and it's clear that this issue will continue to shape the country's future. Whether you're for or against these policies, there's no denying their impact on immigrant communities and the national conversation. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights into the evolving immigration landscape. Drop a comment below. Let us know what you think about these states' immigration policies and which state surprised you the most. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more deep dives into today's most pressing issues. See you in the next video.